You have probably wondered this at some point. If humans managed to domesticate wolves into golden retrievers and wildcats into purring house companions, why did we stop there? Why not zebras instead of horses? Why not bears instead of guard dogs? Why are some animals curled up on our couches while others remain firmly wild, no matter how cute they look on social media? The answer is not about intelligence or size. It is about temperament, biology, timing, and a long evolutionary partnership that most animals simply could not offer. To understand why we domesticated dogs and cats, but not most other animals, we first need to understand what domestication actually means. Domestication is not the same thing as taming. A tamed animal might tolerate humans. A domesticated species has changed genetically over many generations to live alongside us. Domestication rewires behavior, reproduction patterns, and even physical traits. It is evolution guided by human selection. Dogs were the first animals we domesticated, and the story likely began over 15,000 years ago. Some researchers believe it may have started even earlier. Wolves began hanging around human camps, drawn by scraps and waste. The boldest and least aggressive wolves benefited from easy food. Humans benefited from early warning systems and hunting assistance. Over time, those calmer wolves reproduced more successfully near humans. Generation by generation, they became less wolf and more dog. This process worked because wolves already lived in structured social groups. They understood hierarchy, cooperation, and communication. Humans did too. In a strange way, early humans and wolves were compatible teammates. We hunted similar prey. We traveled in groups. We relied on coordination. Dogs were not forced into domestication. They sort of walked into it. Cats followed a very different path. Around 10,000 years ago, as agriculture developed, humans began storing grain. Grain attracted rodents. Rodents attracted wildcats. The cats that tolerated human presence gained a reliable food source. Humans gained pest control. Unlike dogs, cats were not bred for obedience or cooperation in the same way. They mostly domesticated themselves by choosing proximity over conflict. So both dogs and cats entered domestication through mutual benefit. They provided services. We provided food and relative safety. That balance is critical. Domestication works best when both sides gain something. Now compare that to animals we did not domesticate. Take zebras. On paper, they look like striped horses. But zebras are notoriously aggressive. They bite, they kick. They panic easily. Unlike horses, which evolved in herds with stable social hierarchies, zebras evolved under intense predator pressure. Their survival strategy depends on fast reactions and explosive escape. That makes them very difficult to train or breed for calm behavior. There is actually a useful framework for understanding domestication. Biologists often point to several key traits that make animals suitable candidates. They need to have a flexible diet. They need to grow relatively quickly. They must breed well in captivity. They need a manageable temperament. They need a social structure that humans can insert themselves into, and they must not panic under confinement. Dogs and cats check many of these boxes. Bears, on the other hand, fail almost all of them. They grow slowly. They are dangerous. They do not form cooperative social groups the way wolves do. Feeding them is expensive. And even if you raised one from birth, its instincts would not reliably shift across generations. The same applies to large predators like lions or tigers. Yes, individuals can be tamed, but domestication requires consistent, multi-generational selection. You would need thousands of years of careful breeding to reliably reduce aggression, increase sociability, and create stable behavior patterns. And the cost, danger, and unpredictability make that process unrealistic. There is also the issue of usefulness. Historically, humans domesticated animals for clear reasons. Dogs helped with hunting, guarding and herding. Cats controlled pests. Cows provided milk and meat. Sheep offered wool. Chickens laid eggs. Each domesticated species solved a problem efficiently. If an animal did not offer a reliable benefit, the incentive to invest generations of breeding simply was not there. Then there is reproduction. Many wild animals refuse to breed in captivity. Stress alone can prevent it. Domestication depends on animals being willing to reproduce under human management. Dogs and cats adapt well to living near humans. Many other species do not. You might wonder about intelligence. After all, animals like dolphins and elephants are highly intelligent. Why not domesticate them? Intelligence alone does not equal suitability. Dolphins are aquatic and difficult to contain. Elephants have long gestation periods and complex social needs. They can be trained, but true domestication would require centuries of controlled breeding under manageable conditions. Timing also played a role. Most domesticated species were adopted during early agricultural periods when humans needed specific forms of labor and companionship. By the time technology advanced, the practical need for new domesticated species had decreased. We invented machines. We built tools. The window for large-scale domestication efforts narrowed. Interestingly, domestication changes animals physically. Dogs developed floppy ears, varied coat colors, and smaller skulls compared to wolves. Cats became more vocal with humans. These changes are linked to reduced fear and aggression. Scientists studying domestication have even found that selecting for friendliness can unintentionally change appearance. It is as if kindness reshapes the body. There have been experiments that demonstrate this effect. In the 20th century, researchers in Russia selectively bred foxes for tameness. Within a few generations, the foxes began wagging their tails, seeking human attention, and developing dog-like features. But even this experiment required intense oversight and controlled breeding. It shows domestication is possible under strict conditions, but it is not simple. So why did dogs and cats succeed where others did not? Because they were biologically flexible. They adapted to human environments. They reproduced reliably. They offered practical benefits. And most importantly, they tolerated us. Domestication is not about forcing nature into submission. It is about finding species whose evolutionary traits align with ours. Wolves were social and cooperative. Wildcats were adaptable hunters. Over time, that compatibility turned into partnership. The animals we did not domesticate are not inferior. They are simply built differently. A zebra's nervous energy kept it alive in predator-heavy environments. A tiger's independence makes it a perfect solitary hunter. Those traits are strengths in the wild, even if they are inconvenient in a living room. And there is one more subtle reason. Domestication requires patience measured in centuries. It is a long negotiation between species. Only a few animals happen to meet humans at the right time, with the right traits, under the right pressures. So the next time you see your dog waiting by the door, or your cat pretending not to care that you exist, remember that this relationship is the result of thousands of years of shared evolution. It is not random. It is not inevitable. It is a rare alignment of biology and opportunity. If humans had started in a different environment, maybe a different species would be sleeping at our feet today. Maybe we would walk striped companions instead of retrievers. But evolution is full of narrow paths, and here is something to think about. If domestication is about compatibility, what other partnerships between species are possible in the future? If you enjoy exploring how everyday things connect to deep evolutionary history, consider subscribing to Things Explained. There is always more beneath the surface than it first appears.